to move past your fear and to do it anyway. Hi, this is Editing Nadine. So this whole video ends up being kind of my own experience with dealing with fear and identifying fear in my own life currently. And I end up going on a very long spiel about my own life without really offering too many actionable steps. So I decided to offer them here so you can see exactly what it is that I mean to share through my story. And if you still want to listen to the story, definitely go ahead and thank you. And don't forget to like and subscribe. But yeah, these are my key points that I didn't really say explicitly in the video, but I think are still important to the overall topic. Thank you. Over the past week or about 2 weeks, I've really been meditating on the concept of feeling the fear but moving past it and doing it anyway, because a lot of the times our fear can hold us back from even starting or trying. I even made it my Instagram handle, like, don't let your fear, or handle, my Instagram description, don't let your fear keep you from starting or trying. And I am really meditating on this concept because I have made the decision to go back to school. Like, this is like the real decision, right? If you watch I made a video maybe like a few months ago when I started a different college online, and that pathway was going to take an additional 5 years. And from the time that I started, I knew that it wasn't for me. And this is where your intuition comes into play, right? Because once you have come to a point of learning to trust your intuition, and when you understand, like, you get to a point where you're not afraid to listen to your intuition. So I started this college online that was really amazing. I really enjoyed the courses that I took for that semester. But by the time it came to the second semester, I knew it just wasn't the right idea. It did, however, direct me into the understanding that I wanted to pursue holistic sciences and holistic health. And I was trying to go down a path of holistic nutrition, but it didn't feel like it was enough, right? I saw myself as kind of trying to replicate or find kind of like a credential for where I am presently. I'm not sure how long it's going to take me to actually finish that degree, but I am determined to finish it, to get that undergrad degree, and furthermore, to still pursue medicine, just a different form of medicine, and to become a naturopathic doctor. Now, what does this have to do with anything? What does this have to do with this concept of feeling the fear and doing it anyway? Well, in the short span of time in which I've made this decision, I've already had so many different fears, excuses, limiting factors come up for me that I wanted to share, because it's a natural process to feel those things early on, right? Especially when you've kind of already made that decision in your mind. It's like all of a sudden, I'm not going to say it's like negative entities, but all of a sudden you're presented with all the things that kind of challenge you and kind of challenge this intention that you've made. And it's a decision that you have to make of, like, am I going to stay back? Am I going to listen to these limiting factors and these excuses that are coming up? Or am I going to find a way to overcome and to do it anyway? And so in the span of like 2 weeks, first it was a matter of whether I even should apply, right? Who knows how long it's going to take me to finish my degree. Is it even worth it? What would I even do with that degree, right? But I usually find that once I've settled onto, I say yes to the universe, essentially, all of a sudden I'm presented with the next steps. And the next steps in this case for me was, okay, naturopathy. In the position that I work right now, I'm presented with a lot of customers who talk about their naturopaths and what their naturopaths are recommending for them. And I never really focused on that until this point where I've now researched what a naturopath does. And it's like, oh my gosh, every single aspect of science and every single aspect of holistic health that I enjoy and that I wish I could do is what a naturopath does, a naturopathic doctor. And so now that I've done the research and I'm like, okay, universe, this is what I want. And to be honest, it's been quite a bit of time since I've told the universe this. I had a revelation almost a month ago now, where I realized there was nothing in my life anymore that really required faith. I was really just going through the motions. And that's not necessarily a bad place to be, but I very much run on faith. Faith motivates me and pushes me forward. And when I'm in a space of limbo, I start to get uncomfortable, because it's like, if there's nothing for me to like need or desire, I am just gonna kind of dissociate from everything. And grappling with that, I was like, well, I'm in a safe and secure space. Why do I feel unsafe with being safe? And it got to this point of breaking it down and realizing I need to have something to believe in, something. And that feeling that I had wasn't because I was safe. It was more so because I've recognized innately spiritually that I was supposed to be doing more with my life, right? And since I've set my sight on the school and I've said to the universe, yes, this is what I'm doing. Yes, I want to do this. Yes, I want to pursue this. All of a sudden, I have a zeal for life. I have a goal. I have a pursuit. And even so, I also feel the sense of urgency. Like, I need to get started on this. I need to do this. Now, going back to the fear aspect, I began to look up naturopaths on Instagram, on YouTube, having to have a source of reference. And I've seen a lot of beautiful videos from these naturopaths about what they do, about how they operate, what they've learned. And one very key thing stood out to me is that none of them looked like me. In an already very small group, a very small population, I found maybe 2 or 3 or 4, like a handful of Black women doctors, naturopathic doctors. But then, besides that, there was no one who looked like me. Now, as you can probably see on camera, I have piercings, I have tattoos. This is where my past year or 2 years have brought me. I have come to a point of self-expression in a way that makes me feel free. All the tattoos I've gotten so far have been in the past year, but I feel at peace with the choices I've made because this represents outwardly a little more of who I am, right? In terms of piercings, I love my piercings. I find that, again, it shows a level of my self-expression. It shows who I am. And I get a lot more compliments on being unique and being myself. Not that these piercings in and of themselves are unique, but the more I come to be my authentic self, the more I feel aligned with who I actually am. That's a story for another day, but I feel like I've been on this path of self-discovery. And so seeing this space where no one I've encountered, at least that's in the field that I'm looking to be in, looks like me, I began to have doubts. I began to feel like, okay, am I not going to be meant for this? Am I do I have to take out my piercings and expressionalize myself in order to fit in this category? Because I don't know if anyone remembers, during COVID, there's this trend of this is what a doctor looks like, because a lot of doctors and medical staff were getting kind of pushback on how they presented themselves or how they looked, because they were either people of color, they had tattoos, they had piercings. And I feel like it's very important for the medical industry, not even just not conventional medicine, but for medicine in itself to be recognized for the healing art that it is, and not necessarily for the person who is administering that care to be judged by the way that they appear. And so in this unraveling of the fear and identifying what that fear was, I've also began to recognize a mission, my mission, and I'm sure the mission of many others who are pursuing similar paths, of kind of deconstructing the traditions, deconstructing the conventional point of view, the conventional perspective. And there will always be this level of division. I've come to a point where I understand for myself in my personal life that if someone doesn't like me, they don't have to be in my space, right? And so in pursuing becoming a naturopathic doctor, I recognize that there may be patients that come in through my doors, see me, and say, you know what, I don't want to work with you because, I don't like the way you present yourself. I don't like the fact that you have piercings. I don't like the fact that you have very visible tattoos. And I need to have the strength of courage and the strength of self to understand that's okay, So already in this small amount of time, I've seen a mission where, one, I want to present my journey, which I have a channel that I'm setting up for that, but I want to present my journey of becoming a naturopathic doctor, whatever the struggles or whatever may happen along the way, but also I want to give other people a frame of reference for how someone like me can get to that point. And so I felt the fear, and I'm still probably going to feel plenty of fear and doubt. I've already kind of started looking into schools because there's very few schools in North America, and I was settling on one, and then the universe brought another one into my field of view. And upon researching the areas that those two places are in, and pulling cards and doing all the things, the place that it seems that I'm being called to is not the kind of place that I would want to be under normal circumstances. It's not the kind of place that I would choose to go of my free will, because it's not the kind of area where someone like me is. And yet, I can't let that hold me back. Even where I am right now, I still face that sense of, like, yes, there are other Black individuals in this town, which is a very small town, but there's still a sense of being the odd one out in a very large population that is not that diverse, right? So, even so, I've had several white Caucasian customers who are almost like relieved, or it's like a breath of fresh air for them to have someone of color helping them in this town. It's very funny sometimes. I've had this particular gentleman who literally I have to laugh because, like, I should preface this by saying I'm from the Caribbean. I feel like my perspective and experience with race is slightly different from my counterparts who were born in America. I definitely feel the tension and definitely recognize, how others may view me, but I don't really allow it to hold me back from trying. And I don't really allow it to cause me to feel a certain way before I've even experienced what the experience is. So basically, I don't really take things as personally as others might because of their generational experience. Not to say that, race isn't present in the Caribbean. It certainly has been in our history, but I don't know, just the person I am, I'm not one to get easily offended. So this gentleman came up and he was like, oh, he had like a southern drawl too, and he was like, oh, there's a Black lady who's gonna help me figure out where things are. And I was just like cracking up at it. I was like, that is so like off kilter. And it's not the first time I've heard something like that, but it's so funny to me sometimes where if I were to be in my fear mindset, there are certainly people who feel a certain way about me and may show it or may not. But if I would allow myself to be so, like, in the perspective that all people are like that, I would never move into certain spaces where I would actually grow. You know what I mean? Like, if I allow myself to be led solely by fear, there are certain things I would have never pursued. There are certain things I never would have done that have made me who I am today, that have allowed me to grow and like expand both my perspective and my understanding of humanity as a whole, right? So I am definitely rambling. This is definitely a long video so far, but the long story short of it is, don't allow your fear to hold you back from trying, whether it's going after a position that you're not qualified for. Like, legit, every single managerial and corporate position that I've gone for, hasn't been qualified for in terms of certain specs, I guess, but because I entered in on the base level, I did the best I could. I learned as much as I could from where I was, and I showed that I had the like wherewithal to, keep learning and keep trying and keep pushing. I've had positions that I've applied for multiple times. And it's not until like the second or third time that I actually get it because I'm persistent. So also, with that, use those fears as learning opportunities, right? If you have a kind of analytical mind like I do, or even if not, like, take a moment to write down that fear and really try to see beneath it, because a lot of the times what you are presenting as a fear in your own mind, there's another reason behind it subsequently, right? So for me, the sense of um, you know doctors do not look like me, well, what's beneath that? I'm afraid that me showing up as my most authentic self is going to be uncomfortable and triggering to other people. And that's true. It simply is. But should I allow that fear or that understanding, that realization, that truth to hold me back from even trying? No, because then I wouldn't be able to allow the world or whatever area I serve to see that it is possible for someone like me to be a doctor. I'm not claiming to be like a medical doctor, but naturopathic doctor. You know, sometimes you have to be the first to do something in order to set a new precedent, and in order to allow people to understand, like, yes, this can be a reality, whether it's for someone else, whether it's for the next generation. Like, we are not limited to one thing or another, and allowing your fears or even things that you've been told all your life to keep you in a box and keep you from venturing outside of that box, you know, that is a dangerous place to be, because you'll never know what else there is. You'll never know what else there is to experience, what else there is to learn. I mean, in this incarnation, I approach everything as a learning opportunity. And if I do get hurt, or if I do, you know, find myself in a dangerous place, then the learning opportunity is recognizing not to go back there, not to, you know, do the things I did to be in that situation. So yeah, I hope that this helps someone. I know I rambled quite a bit, but I think it is really important to share how important it is to feel the fear and just ram through it, go past it. You'll keep feeling that discomfort until you actually keep repeatedly going through the fear. You know, things that scared me like years ago no longer scare me because I've done it so many times. In the case of applying for supervisor and manager positions, each time it does scare me because it's like a slightly different qualification or slightly different role that I have to perform. But I have also understood that because I've done it so many times, I recognize that even if I am not qualified at all, I become qualified pretty quickly by doing the thing. I'm also someone who learns by doing, so I really have to just be willing to fail. And sometimes that's the hardest thing, but being willing to fail is the only way you're going to get to success. So yeah, I just wanted to share that, and I hope that it helps someone. But yeah, I'll see you in the next video.